Italian woman by the name of Gertie Bass, who is my grandfather's mother, was the first person to receive the Holy Ghost that we know of in East Texas in history. When Roark preaches on the Holy Ghost, my grandma Gertie falls out talking in tongues. They begin to tell stories that I'm finding out about Grandma Gertie. People were scared of her because they would hear her in the woods wailing and praying. You want to know why my mother that was here, Mama Suber, is a little weird? That's her grandmother. No, you don't hear me, because about 45 or 50 years ago, Grandma Gertie got up at a church and said, I saw a vision. I saw a vision that from my family, there's going to be preachers that are going to go all over the world. We just had a meeting with some of us preachers. There are 47 apostolic tongue-talking preachers out of her womb that came from a woman that could not read nor write, living in a home with no electricity, had an outhouse in the back. When she died, they didn't even have running water in her house. But God gave her a promise, and it may have taken 50 years, but what God spoke to her is birthing all over the world. I come to tell somebody, you got a word from the Lord. It may not come when you thought it was going to come, Isaiah. It may take 400 years, but there's a Messiah coming. It may take 30 years, but there's a church coming. It may take 6 months, but there's a miracle coming. Am I talking to anybody that has a delayed word over your life? You have a delayed promise over your ministry. You have a delayed prophecy over your house. You want to wave at me right now? How can this be? Lord, I need somebody to pray with me right now, because are you understanding what I'm saying? So the first thing I want to tell you is, just because something has been prolonged doesn't mean that it's not a prophetic word. Just because something has been delayed doesn't mean that it has been denied. Just because something's messy doesn't mean it's not a miracle. Just because you had to live through one divorce doesn't mean that God's going to do a miracle. Just because you've been through 3 bankruptcies and nobody wants to even lend you $1 doesn't mean that God's still not going to provide. But the word that He gave you before the situation is the same word that's going to sustain you during the situation. And you have to learn how to say, yea, though He slay me, yet will I trust Him. The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Somebody ought to say, I will bless the Lord at all times. You need to tell me, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my life. Miracles are messy. Isaiah said, His name shall be called. Say, His name shall be called Wonderful. I wish I had time today. I'd preach about God's first name. Wonderful Counselor, the mighty God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. And Isaiah spoke it, but there was a season of time when you had to live through religion. There was a season of time that the Jews had to live through the Ichabod season. Punch somebody and say, you're going to have to live through the Ichabod season. The Ichabod season is when the glory of the Lord has departed from the house of God. You're going to have to live through a season when you can praise and not feel it.